Welcome to the Virtual CPA Success Show for creative agencies, the go-to resource for agency owners looking to scale their business. Join us every week to stay ahead of the curve and position your agency for future success.
All right, Jody. So for today's episode, I'm going to give you an opportunity to make fun of me. Remember 100 episodes ago when we recorded our first podcast and how bad I sucked? Let's talk about that real quick.
Oh, dude, that was like, I thought maybe your first and last episode. if anybody wants a comic relief, go back and listen to episode number 1, and you will definitely get a chuckle or two.
I listened to it once and only once because it's that bad. So if you want to comment on this YouTube video and tell us how bad I was, I would love to hear it. And I don't mind making fun of myself. So can you believe we made 100 episodes, Jody?
Yeah, no kidding. That's a lot of episodes. I had no idea it was 100 episodes until I just found out a few minutes ago. But the cool part about it is we had a super all-star guest on during that time, Todd Nienkerk with Four Kitchens. Great. It was just a lot of fun listening to his stories and his successes and failures and how he went and did a lot of rebranding. And so it's a great piece to listen to for sure.
Yeah, I love Todd, and I mentioned it during the podcast. I've been to several events with Todd, and he's the one in the room where when he talks, people put their notebooks down, people stop multitasking, and they're just like all eyes on him. And that's how I felt during this podcast, just listening to him talk and tell his story. He definitely has it all put together and has learned a lot in his journey, and has just expressed a little bit of that here in this short podcast. But I loved having him on the show, and hopefully all of our listeners enjoyed the show as well. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. Really excited about today's guest because it is one of our longest standing clients here at Summit CPA. So excited to be talking to Todd Nienkerk from Four Kitchens. So I'm also joined by Jody Grundon as always. But before we get to Jody, Todd, why don't you spend a little bit of time kind of introducing yourself and letting the audience know a little bit about your background?
Sure, happy to. So my name's Todd. I'm CEO, owner, and co-founder at Four Kitchens. I co-founded Four Kitchens 17 and a half years ago with some friends from college. We got involved in web design and development really early on, particularly in open source web development and Drupal especially. And since then, we've made all kinds of websites for publishers and nonprofits, higher ed, educators. We do tend to work with larger scale projects and clients. So we've worked with some really big names in publishing like NBC, The Economist, Time Inc., Meredith, and some really well-known universities, but also lots of small schools, state schools, nonprofits that range from very local, city or state based to national and international. No need is too large and no project is too small.
Awesome. Well, we'll love the introduction. And just like I said, Jody's also on here. So say hi to the audience, Jody.
Yeah, hey, Todd. I'm happy to have you on here. This is pretty exciting. I've been looking forward to this ever since it's been on the calendar today. So,
Likewise.
Great. So let's jump right in. So Todd, I'm going to use the word lucky here, but I'm not sure if you'll feel that way. So every one of the directors and owners has that one client that's kind of their pet client, and so for you, it's always been Adam Hale, who's one of our partners. So he's worked on your account a lot, and I know you have a lot of experience to work with Adam. But one of the joys of working with us is that your name comes up a lot, and your company comes up a lot when we're talking through stuff as a CFO group. And so I know Four Kitchens has been through a lot. There's been a lot of changes, and you want to talk a little bit about kind of the story that Four Kitchens has been through over the last 17 years. Just a brief history and kind of some of the ups and downs you guys have had.
Yeah. So, I haven't actually sat and thought about all 17 years plus in total all at once. It's a lot. I think we've experienced pretty much everything a company can experience, short of, knock on wood, getting sued. But everything else, we check all the boxes, good and bad. And we've, when we first started working with Summit, we were definitely at a low point. And it was because we had grown past our ability to internally manage and forecast our finances. And my business partner at the time and I realized, a little too late, man, we're pretty slow. We don't have a lot of work, and we don't have a lot of payrolls in the bank. And the only way that we had to really forecast things back then, and this is a long, long time ago, was just kind of looking at the amount of money that we had and the amount of money in receivables. And we weren't really even at the point where we were doing like cash flow projections. We weren't really paying attention to when exactly is this or that check going to land. We're just sort of like, boy, we hope it gets here and quick. So we weren't like completely ignorant and tripping over ourselves, but we had reached a certain stage in our complexity and growth that that doing it the way we were doing it before wasn't working anymore, and we had to level up our finances. So we got a really glowing referral from our friends at Lullabot, who we share a lot with, culturally and clientele and the types of technologies that we use. They're another web agency, uh, and having a similar history to them, and having similar needs, we thought like, well, this we're going to take this pretty seriously. And it was a major investment for us at the time. It was one of those moments that all business owners run into where you think, man, for that I could hire somebody. And that's true, but should you? Usually not. And we realized that this was kind of like a we have to save the company kind of moment, and we were happy to make that kind of investment. And I'm really glad we did, because we were able to get through that rough patch and several others since then. With sometimes it's been motivated by the economy or the pandemic or other outside factors, and sometimes it's driven by our own failure to effectively market ourselves, or to focus on the right kinds of services, or to specialize and really refine our message. So lots of things that I feel like we've done right, a lot of things that I feel like we've done wrong and learned from. But the big things along the way that we've experienced, going from 4 co-founders to and owners to just myself, over the course of about the first 15 years being in business. We merged with an agency 2 years ago. We acquired another agency internationally in Costa Rica last year. Those were 2 big moments for us as well. And navigating all of that has been, overall, it's been a very good experience. But I or anybody on our team would tell you that it's not without its challenges, and there are still some things that feel unresolved and kind of complicated. And we continue to work through those. And we've also, to be completely frank, we have been at the point a couple of times where we felt like, we just want to throw in the towel. We're just kind of done with this. We don't. This isn't fun anymore. It's super stressful. How do we get out? And we've worked with your team on, well, what does it look like if we just sort of stop? What does it look like if we just shut down and hand off, our client relationships to people that we trust? And well, what would it look like if we, did these other things? And we'd sort of play out these scenarios. I'm glad, and we almost sold a couple of times as well. And ultimately, I'm glad that we did not give up. I'm glad that we did not sell. And but it yeah, I think it would have looked very different if we didn't have the right kinds of relationships, not just with Summit, but with our content marketing agency, with a branding agency that we've been working with over the past year and a half, which I'm sure we'll talk about momentarily, and just other people that I've met through professional networks, people that whose advice I take very seriously, and people who are generous enough to give it.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, there's definitely a lot. And I remember the ups and downs just talking to you at different conferences and stuff. That one conference you'd be high as a kite, then the next one it's doom and gloom. And
Yep.
the thing about that is that's not just characteristic to your company. That's with all entrepreneurs. There's not many entrepreneurs that can go out there and say, yeah, everything is roses all the way through the whole process. I think the
Yep.
difference between you and many is that when that time came to, hey, do I give up or not? Some gave up, and you didn't, and that's a lot of credit to you for that, because it's just perseverance and perseverance. And why did I do this? I'm not making any money. What's
Yeah.
going on? Or I'm not getting any sleep, or whatever that monster might be that's hit you in the face. A lot of credit that you stood through that and made it through, which is great. And you grew it from basically bootstrapping it way back when to now you're super successful, doing well. And success is obviously relevant to the person speaking, but I would consider you a very successful entrepreneur and business owner.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I think that there's a lot to dig into there, and there's also a lot of positive criticism that I would give myself for things that I feel like I could have done differently, or done better along the way, or maybe advice that I didn't take that I should have taken, or something, things I should have done sooner, hard conversations I should have had sooner. But one of the most interesting moments, one of the most interesting conversations I had with somebody about, do I give up, is was back in, this must have been late 2019, very early 2020, like right before the pandemic hit. We were actually impacted as a business a lot earlier than most US based businesses, because we had a major project lined up with with a company that was very impacted by tourism, and they did most of their work in Southeast Asia. Well, that part of the world was first affected by COVID, so they stopped spending money, and they started really buckling down in October, November 2019, and they had to uh, halt $1 million engagement that would have kept a big chunk of our team busy for the first 6 to 9 months of 2020. And so going into that year, we were already pretty scared about
Yeah.
like what was going to happen, and then everything just seemed to get worse from there. Like there was just no relief at all. So it was around that time, it was at that moment when this major project had been pulled, and there were these like whispers of a virus, and coming out of somewhere in Southeast Asia, and I spoke to a couple of people, and I won't name names. I'm sure that they would be happy to be named, but just for the sake of, I don't know how they
Right.
feel about this, I won't say who they are. But
Sure.
one person I talked to, sort of famously in our industry, left this world, had to shut down their agency, and has spoken about it publicly, and in a very heartfelt and um, what's the word, a vulnerable way.
Mhm.
Um, and he was just like unequivocal. He's like, you should get out of this. The world of like agencies is over. Everybody is screwed. It's the best decision I ever made. I would do it again in a heartbeat. And I thought like, oh, this is somebody I've known for a long time and really respect. And like, yikes, here's a really dire picture of the world that we work in. And then I spoke with our content marketing agency, and the principal there, very famously in our industry, has a philosophy of never sell, never retire. Like that's just it. Like, this is your business, make it work, right? It's up to you. You can, if you don't like it, you change it. And I did a total 180 because of this conversation with him. Because he just sort of reminded me of like, well, what is it that you like about this, and would you like to like that again? Because you can, it's just going to take a while, right? You're going to have to really suffer through like a lot of hard change and difficult conversations to get to that point. But I really do have to credit them with uh, putting me in a I guess a better place mentally to be prepared for what was going to happen in 2020.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
it's all between your ears for the most part, right? Business owners, entrepreneurs, it really is all between the ears.
Yes,
And how
absolutely.
much can you put up with? How much can't you? Stress is stress. It's a real thing.
It's a
It does.
very real thing. It took me, some of the worst stress that I've experienced in my life was within probably the middle of the 17-year stretch, probably in the middle of that. So after we got over the hump of whoa, this is crazy. We're running a company. Like, we get past that where we're super young, we're in our early mid 20s, and like we could go broke the next day and it wouldn't matter, just,
Right.
well, that was fun. Like, we never really expected to make it anyway. And so whatever. And then you get to this place where it's like, whoa, we have employees, and like we have real responsibilities, not just to ourselves, but to people and to our clients who are increasingly reliant on the work that we do, and providing quality work, and not yet having figured out like the relationships and the people I can trust, and the not to say there are people I can't trust, just I hadn't met the people who really could help guide us through this yet. And stress at that point, when you're in that middle space of, okay, now it's real, but I don't really know how to do it yet in a real way, is physical. Like, the physical manifestations of stress are,
Sure.
like, I remember very distinctly, there was probably like a month-long period where it